the book was presented to me right around the time I was about to make The Irishman. Do we need a translation?
No,
We're fine, yeah.
Okay. And I was intrigued by the title. I felt that they were telling me, you know, you never did a Western. And I've always been careful of Westerns because I have grown up, so to speak. I was born in 1942. So in the 1940s and 50s, I saw I was a great admirer of the American genre of the Western. But I felt that by the time they did the Wild Bunch, Peckinpah, it was over. It finished the end. And a new America, a new world order, everything changed. And so, for me, I was very, very nervous about approaching it. But something about the nature of the overall schemes that the white families had in this area with the Osage, and the fascination with the Osage Nation itself. I became very interested in the Osage culture, the indigenous people, the Native Americans. This is something that had been in my mind for many years, back in the 70s, that I became fascinated by. I never felt that I could approach it properly, and so I always backed away. We decided to do Irishman first because the CGI to make the actors look younger. If we were to wait another 3 years, the actors would be even older. Then there would be more CGI and very expensive, even more expensive. So they said, Marty, you know, we're gonna have to, so, all right. So we did The Irishman. I worked on the script with Eric Roth. And ultimately, the story that David Grant proposed, the story that David Grant created in the book, was the outside Bureau investigation coming into a situation and trying to find out who done it, like a mystery as to who did it. But when I was reading this, I said to myself, it isn't a matter of who did it, it's who didn't do it. Everybody did it. Even if you just turn your head away and look the other way, you're complicit. And I said, maybe that's the story, how it's so easy for human nature to be complicit in something of this horrendous scale. You know, I have my own problems. I have problems with my family. I can't deal with this, you know, and this sort of thing. Plus, they're the richest people in the world and they never worked for it. You know, the European work ethic was you sow and you reap. You know, God gives you benefits, but you have to contribute. You have to work for your benefits. But in this case, a lot of the white European felt they're not working. You know, all of a sudden, how do they get this grace from God? You know, and so I found that was interesting. And then we started going to Oklahoma, and I wanted to get to know a little more of the Osage people, because my other experiences with Native Americans in the 1970s was very volatile and very traumatic. But here, it was rather different. I met Chief Standing Bear. You know, he could tell you what he felt when we met, what anticipations they had with me doing a film of this kind. And ultimately, I began to be treated very, very well by them. And they would have these big dinners and people would get up and talk, because you have to understand that the people in this film, a lot of them that you see in front of the camera, let alone behind the camera, were descendants of these people. They're still there. In a funny way, not a funny way, but in a very real way, this wound is still there. And as Chief could tell you, they didn't speak about it. But now it's out. And so I found that the people were taking me through their culture, through their history. And then the key thing was that they kept talking about Molly and Ernest and Molly and Ernest. And they pointed out that you have to remember, it isn't as simple as a victim and a villain. They pointed out that Molly and Ernest were in love. And I said, well, if Ernest was doing all this for his uncle, and he really loved Molly, and he loved the Osage culture too, and Molly loved him, and she wasn't dumb, she knew she sensed something. what is it between the two of them? And that's what eventually became the story. And that's when Leo DiCaprio pointed out to me, right after COVID, I think it was, no, right before COVID hit, right before the pandemic, he pointed out to me, he said, what if I play the other role? What if I play Ernest? And I said, well, that's interesting. I said, Ernest is the only character that's not written, which means we'd have to start the script, go in and go from the inside out, not the outside in. Mm-hmm. And so we're on the ground, boots on the ground in that world, and it's based on love. Love, trust, betrayal. And here's the story. And so we started reworking the script, Eric and I, and then COVID hit and everything changed. I was in a room, I was working on it myself. I don't know, where were you?
Me?
Yeah.
Well,
you were having a good time.
Yeah, beautiful, wonderful. No, actually, we started scouting in Oklahoma before the pandemic, and we were there, we're scouting the other story, the other script. And then the pandemic hit. We were ready to go back to Oklahoma to continue, and then it's like, no, we're rewriting. So then I was in a holding pattern in my home in LA.
Yeah, well, when he said the other script, that was the script based on the idea of the FBI, the Bureau of Investigation coming in, and Leo was to play what Jesse Plemons plays in the film. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't know about that. That reminds me, Jesse is amazing. I said, but that character is a character that is based on a real man who behaved that way, didn't say anything, who just looked. He's very tough, strong man, good man, good man. I said, but I don't know what I'd be able to do with Leo with that character. And so with Ernest, I said, okay, let's create Ernest. Let's get into that. And so somehow I wound up working on it myself. A couple of friends helped every now and then. Eric helped. And then ultimately we came up with some kind of a script that I must say we felt very strongly about once we cast Lily Gladstone. Mm-hmm. We felt confident that we could do it. How to do it, we weren't quite sure. So as the film began being produced, as it was being shot, we kept changing and working and rewriting each day until the end of the shoot.
Okay. We're going to